words said in the aftermath are just too confusing. Now I spend my days watching you throw stones at someone who's already dead. And if this is the way we all begin, so how can I ask for any more?
Welcome to the Stages of Minnesota. I'm your host, Rob Dunkelberger, and this episode is sponsored by Prime Productions, the theater company devoted to celebrating women in their second act. I'll tell you more about Prime Productions and their upcoming season a little later, but before we go any further, I want to address a very serious issue. Word has gotten back to me of a drinking game that has cropped up around this show. Apparently, people are gathering together to watch the episodes, and every time I mispronounce someone's name, the players take a shot. I don't mean to be a stick in the mud. I don't drink personally. I prefer to do my drinking impersonally. But I have no problem with people drinking socially, and I can almost, but not quite, see the fun of drinking games. But there is such a thing as alcohol poisoning. If you're old enough to drink, you're old enough to drink responsibly. And anyone who's doing shots every time I mispronounce a name is just asking for trouble. I don't mind telling you that the thought of someone getting behind the wheel of a motor vehicle after playing the Stages of Minnesota drinking game fills me with more than a little dread. It fills me with quite a fair amount of dread, if you really want to know. And about up to here, to be quite specific about it. So I implore you, if you absolutely, positively have to play the Stages of Minnesota drinking game, please, 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 before you begin, wrap your car keys in 4 or 5 rolls of aluminum foil. Then make 4 or 5 piles of 2 to 3 coins, and wrap each of those in the same excessive amount of aluminum foil, so you can no longer tell which are the keys and which are the coins. Next, place each ball of foil into a bowl of water. Perhaps I should have mentioned that you'll want to clean out your freezer first, enough so that you can fit 5 or 6 bowls in it. Now place those bowls of water with the balls of foil in the freezer. The hope is that by carefully following these instructions, that by the time you are able to actually retrieve your car keys, you will have sobered up. Today we have another segment in our What the Hell's a Theater Blogger series. Today I'll be talking with my friend and fellow Twin Cities theater blogger, Erica Scarlett. By day, a mild-mannered marketing and communications director for History Theater. At night, she assumes the mantle of theater blogger, writing reviews and creating Instagram reels with wild abandon as lettered in theater. We also have 2 reviews for you. One by yours truly, that means me for those of you who've already started playing the game, and second, a review from a special guest blogger. But first, in a show abstractly bursting at the seams with theater bloggers, if not in a literal sense, then surely in the imaginary sense, we have a special announcement from my friend and yours, at least on paper, Jill Schaefer of Cherry and Spoon. Let's give a big, loud, drunken Stages of Minnesota welcome to Jill. Please put your hands together and clap like your life depended on it, and as if you believe she can hear you. Hey everyone, we have a special guest today, our good friend Jill Schaefer of Cherry and Spoon. And Jill, you started your blog in 2010, is that correct?
That's
Making
right.
this the 15th anniversary. And for that, you
Exactly.
have a special promotion going on. Can you tell us about it?
I sure can. Yeah, thank you for having me on your show to talk about this. So, I wanted to do something to celebrate 15 years, and what I really want to do is give back to this community, this theater community that has given me so much. So, I need your help to do that. So, if you're so inclined, consider donating just $15 to your favorite theater company, whoever that is. If you're unable to donate $15 at this time, you can also volunteer to be an usher or for other help. So just go to your favorite theater's website and they all have information on how to donate or volunteer. And if you do so, you can be entered into a drawing to win 2 tickets to a show at the Guthrie or Theater Latte Dodd. If you want to win those tickets, after you donate, go to cherryandspoon.com. There's a pin post at the top about my 15th anniversary. You can read me blathering on about what that means to me, or you can just go to where it says fill out this form and click on that. It's a Google form. All you have to do is enter your email. If you want to also name the theater company and the amount, you can do that. That might be interesting data for me to collect. And then you can enter once per email address per donation through October 5th, at which point I will randomly draw 2 people to win those tickets.
Now, Jill, if I wanted to donate $20, is that okay? Could I still be put in the raffle?
Yes, good question. You can donate $20, you can donate $200. Just a minimum of 15 to mark that 15th anniversary. But if you're able to and feeling generous, our theaters need us right now and we need our theaters. So whatever you can give is appreciated.
They really do. And I think it'd be great to stick with the 1-5, since we're marking your 15th anniversary. So $150,
Sure.
$1,500, $15,000,
Perfect. Yeah.
$150,000. That would be great. Hey, faithful viewers, please help out, support your local theaters, and let's show Jill how much she's meant to us, how she has led the way, and how she helps guide us to see shows that make our lives feel a little fuller. And we will link to Jill's blog in the show notes so that you can have easy access to find that form and register your donation and get set up to hopefully win some theater tickets. Thanks for joining us, Jill. I appreciate it. And congratulations on 15 years.
Thank you. We'll see you at the theater.
We are for another edition of What the Hell's a Theater Blogger? Today, I'm talking with Erica Scarlett, who also works in promotions at the History Theater. Erica, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So tell us about your job at History Theater.
Yeah, so I'm the Marketing and Communications Director. I've been here for about 3 years, going on my 3rd season. And I do all things to help promote the shows, get the bloggers and critics to come see the shows, all the campaigns and advertising, and help with the social media department to get everyone to come see every show that we do.
And before that, you were at Stages, weren't you, in Hopkins?
Yes, I was at Stages for about 4 years, all in marketing, and then front of house as well in the audience services department. And before that, the Minnesota Jewish Theater Company, now 6 Points. So I've bounced around from theater company to theater company in the Twin Cities quite a bit in my career so far.
So the title of your blog is Lettered in Theater. Where did you come up with that title?
Yeah, I was a theater kid, theater nerd all the way through high school and performed in shows, junior high, high school. And I was so proud to get a Letterman jacket when I was a junior in high school because I lettered in theater. No sports, don't put me on a sports team, but theater, choir, and student council, I'm all in. So when I started kind of thinking about how, what I wanted to do for the name, that just felt right.
And why did you become a theater blogger?
Because I was working at theaters all over town, a lot of friends were in theater, a lot of artist friends. A big part of it is I couldn't afford to see every show in town as I was working at theaters and right out of college. So I started volunteering at theater companies to see shows and to support the artists that were in them. And I started then following Jill of Cherry and Spoon and realized that theater blogging was a thing that you could do. So one day I started an Instagram account, pretty much just to document my own adventures in theater, going like my own little digital scrapbook. And about a few months into it, I posted kind of a meet Erica, here's who I am. And we both went to the same college. So she reached out and said, we should have another Benny blogging about theater. And it kind of, started from there.
So how long have you been doing it? When did you start?
I launched the blog in January of 2020, which was a bold time to begin blogging for theater. But yeah, it's about five and a half years.
Right. So you got a good 2-3 months in before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started in the fall of 2019 and was really ramping up and really like, wow, this is growing much faster than I ever thought it could. And boom, we're all done.
Yeah.
And it felt like rebuilding again when things started up.
Yeah, I got very good at seeing theaters in people's backyards and out and about, and a lot of digital virtual theater was how the first year or so of the blog was how to still stay connected to theater, even if we're not physically somewhere.
There's two things you do that I really love. I love that you on Facebook, you'll put out what's happening this week, what shows are there. I've gone there sometimes to figure out, I got a slot I can fill, what's still playing. But I also love the videos you do on Instagram. They're just fantastic. I love that. Why do you do those? In working in marketing and social media, the content just reacts better. Is that something that's different, something that's new out there? I was getting kind of bored of just posting my playbill. I wanted some new variety, and video something that I hadn't at the time done a lot of, so I wanted to jump into it. And now after every show I post a reel, usually of the outside and the lobby and me and my friend, a kind of better way of just documenting more of that experience and trying a new medium, but also doubles the content that I can create, that I make a reel and then I can make a post and a blog, so it's just more exposure for the theaters, and it's just fun to do them. And at the end of every year I compile them all together, and it's just a lot of me and my friends behind playbills making silly faces, and it's kind of a fun way to document the year in theater going adventures. So do you have a format that you use, or what is your process for writing your reviews?
Yeah, I really write my reviews or my posts from the experience as an audience member. So really kind of starting with what is it, what is the show, all that, when can you go, nuts and bolts kind of stuff. And then a synopsis from my perspective, and then my feedback. And I try to really just focus on things that stuck with me, moments stuck with me, performances that stuck out to me, and then kind of wrapping that back up with kind of what happened. I try to lean into more of the here's what happened and here's what I enjoyed about it, here's what I took from it, and then let the audience members take their own, or the people reading it take their own decision of whether or not they want to come to see a show. When you see so much theater, it's really easy to really, I'm entertained by almost everything that I see in the Twin Cities, and I never want to dissuade somebody from coming to see a show. Even if it's a fantastic show, sometimes the topic's not for me or whatever. So I just kind of write about what is it, what did I like about it, and then I hope people that feel moved by what I wrote, buy a ticket or wait for the next one.
So do you ever write a negative review? Not
really. And I would say, very honestly, in the last 5 years of writing, there's only been 2 or 3 shows that I was like, the show was not ready, or the cast wasn't ready. Something was wrong enough that I feel like I would have written a negative review, but I really try hard to not dissuade people from seeing a show, especially newer theater companies or up and coming ones, to let people still take a chance on it. So I've in the past reached out to theater companies and kind of told them, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Do you still want me to write about it, still post about it? I know you've done something similar with theater companies, or the post becomes a little bit more of a synopsis, and I focus on those few ones I do like, but I'm not a big fan of it. Even though I'm 5 years into it, I haven't quite found a voice of what that is, and I often have to take that step back, in that I'm just a theater kid who likes theater, and I work in theater and I know enough about it, but I'm not a trained theater critic. I don't have all the tools to do it. I think to the level that the theater critics in town do, that I try to find that balance of when it's appropriate to write about that and when it's more appropriate to focus on maybe other aspects of the show.
And I've had people say, oh, you seem to like everything. Well, there's a couple things that work there. We love theater. That's why we're spending all of our free time doing theater. So yeah, we're going in wanting to like everything. And we have a great theater scene in the Twin Cities. There's so many great, fantastic artists, so much talent in this town, that even if a script isn't that great, a lot of times they're going to pull something out of it that's going to raise it above to where it's like, yeah, that was a good show. Maybe not a great show, but that was a good show. Mm-hmm. What is the best thing about being a theater blogger?
For me, one of the most, I'm going to spin that a little bit, most surprising things that I've enjoyed about being a theater blogger. I knew I would enjoy going to shows and getting exposure to, to shows and seeing them all. But it's just how many new theater companies I've been able to experience over the last 5 years. And they're popping up all the time. Like, I feel like I'm always, at least once a month, I'm seeing a new show. Every year there's a new crop of artists or people that are returning to the scene, that like that community behind it. I'm like part of it in a unique way as I work in the theater too, but it's just like I geek out about just how much newness there constantly is, and there's always something new to see, which I just absolutely love. And then going into it, I didn't know how many other bloggers there were. So we've formed a really cool community as well, to be able to, you know, talk about shows and what we liked and maybe did, what we agreed on or disagreed on about shows, or, you know, we have a text chain where it's like, hey, where's everyone going to be this weekend? And sometimes we're all at the same show, sometimes we're all different shows, and kind of that community as well. I didn't expect, you know, going into I thought it was just me seeing a show and then running behind my computer and then walking away, but there's so much beyond that community that is really cool.
And it's such a community, the bloggers. You know, there's zero competition. There's zero withholding of information. It is all about sharing information and supporting each other and sharing resources and giving everybody a heads up of this great show. It's been one of the biggest surprises for me. When I started this, I had no idea there were other bloggers, and to find all these people, and now there's all these people that I consider friends now. You know, we're not just colleagues, we're friends. We enjoy seeing theater, we enjoy talking about theater, we enjoy seeing each other. And it's been a really nice, for you, early in life, for me, late in life, bonus.
I really enjoy that, and also being able to bring other people to shows. So not only do, you know, we share sometimes, we'll show up at a show and not realize you're both there, and then we'll end up watching a show together or sit by each other, unless it's in the very front row, because sometimes it's too close, Rob. But I have, so often we get +1, so I've been able to bring my mom to a ton of shows, and I have a lot of friends who maybe were passive theater people before, and now they're like texting me shows that they know that are coming in town because they want to come with me, and I'm adding those theater people slowly but surely, but like the theater, my, you know, blogging +1s.
Right.
That community has grown, and now there's some like competition of like who gets to go with me to shows and like what shows they want to go to, and they're like in the world that I've never really had a lot of friends who didn't start as theater kids, didn't start as, you know, theater fanatics, but now are finding their way into it. So that's kind of a fun thing too. And a lot of them have been in enough shows they know you guys too. They're like, oh yeah, I see Rob, or like Jill's over there, did you miss her? And like they'll point people out in the audience because they go to, you know, 15, 20 shows a year, which is a lot more than most
the
people
average
do,
person.
you know, but they're stoked to be able to come with me. So opening the doors to that, to other people. Or like my niece is 5 years old and she goes to an average of 10 shows a year, and she's like the best little theater kid, and like that next generation, it's just, you can't.
That's one of the things I think is the most valuable of what we do, is when we can create an interest or love in theater of somebody who didn't have it.
Yeah.
Do you have any pet peeves of being a blogger?
I mean, I think it's kind of a mixture of a pet peeve and a challenge, is being able to see it all. And kind of in that same vein, if I don't know about a show early enough in advance, I don't get to see it.
Yes.
And I get that, you know, there's so many things to put together and to get out there. And if you don't know how to promote a show, there's so much to it that if I don't see a press release until it's like the weekend of the show, sometimes I get to go and sometimes I don't. And I'm always so sad that I'm like, oh, the season was announced. Like, tell me farther in advance, remind me. Which is why my like weekly like post of shows upcoming has been so key, because I can look a few weeks in ahead and be like, wait, I don't have a ticket for this one yet. Did I miss something, or do I need to reach out? So I have to like be a little more proactive about it. If I'm just going off of like who's sending me an email and inviting me, I think I would miss a decent amount just because I'm not on everyone's list, you know. It takes a lot of time to, you know, create that publicity list, and not every company has just a easy way to reach us all at one time. But I think that's probably one of those things that I miss shows sometimes because I don't know about it soon enough. Or shows that are scheduled, which is no way to do this unless every theater company sat down and planned our schedules around each other. When like 10 really great things all open the same day, and I'm like,
and that
how do I
happens
choose?
so often.
What do I pick? You know, so those kind of things that's you can't fix that. There's nothing you can do about that, or you know, it's more of that like sadness of missing something because life is happening around. Yeah,
I mean, we're surprised because we've been doing this long enough now when we're not on someone's list, like we're not on their radar. Thankfully, we have Jill, who I think gets invited to everything. She's made every list, and she'll let us know about things that we maybe haven't heard of. But getting that last minute notice is, I mean, I generally make my schedule a month ahead of time, and I book mine up pretty solid. So it's hard to squeeze something in. But one thing you were saying earlier about new theater companies and things like that, I'm also amazed at, like in the last year, I've probably been to 2 or 3 theaters, physical spaces that I'd never been in before. I've probably seen 500 shows or more since I started blogging. Maybe close to 1,000. And I still go to spaces I'd never been to before. That boggles my mind. It's amazing.
Yeah, or theater companies that are kind of nomadic and they can kind of go wherever. So they're seeing more shows in like the AML artist lofts and random locations where like their show can fit anywhere. So it's like, it can be done in the back of this brewery or this person's, whether site specific or not. It's like they can pop up wherever, or going back to the outdoor ones or kind of all over the place. But there's a lot of times I'm like, how am I this far into it? And I still haven't been, and how exciting is that? My friends are like, there's no way you haven't been there yet. I'm like, no, it's a brand new one, you guys. Trust me. Like, I don't.
So, what's coming up at the History Theater this season?
Yeah, so we're kicking off our 49th season in September with Don't Miss Doris Hines. It's a world premiere about Doris Hines, who's the mother of Gary Hines, The Sounds of Blackness. People may be more familiar with, and it's her life story, which I'm super excited about. And then we're doing Rollicking, a Winter Carnival musical, all about the St. Paul Winter Carnival. And that's by Keith Hovis and Rachel Teagle. I know Keith Hovis is a big, the bloggers love Keith Hovis, and it's gonna be really so fun, and it's a good partnership with Keith and Rachel. Very fun musical, I'm excited about that one. And then a Fringe favorite from 2022, Whoosh, we're presenting in January, which I'm really excited to see. It's a slightly adapted version, so a little bit bigger. There's now the Last 40 Band will be performing in some capacity with it, so it's a little bit of an extended version if you saw it at Fringe. Sandra Struthers of Gwen Sheen fame here at History Theater is doing her play called Hungry Like the Wolf, kind of a combination of her obsession with Duran Duran, the Wilmer 8, which was the first bank strike in Wilmer, Minnesota in the 70s. It's a lot, but it's very fun. I'm very excited about that show. And then we're ending it with a History Theater classic, Courting Harry. It's about 2 Supreme Court justices who grew up here in St. Paul, a few blocks from each other. We did it in like 2012 or 2013 last, so it's coming back to close off the season. So a little bit of everything.
Well, gosh, next season sounds amazing. I wish there was some way that my viewers could see one of those shows.
Well, I can give away a pair of tickets to any of those shows. However you want to give them away, but I'm happy to do that and come check it out if you haven't been to the History Theater.
All right. Well, look in the wrap up for how we're going to handle that giveaway. And thank you, Erica, for coming on the show. I always love to see you at the theater. I love when neither of our plus ones come and we can just sit together because it's more friendly with 2.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prime Productions. Prime Productions is an interesting theater company that celebrates women in their second act by focusing on providing roles for women over 50 on stage and behind the scenes. They amplify their voices through powerful performances that embrace diverse perspectives. Prime works to challenge the stereotypes that promote ageism, sexism, racism, all the isms. Founded in 2016 by its current artistic directors Allison Edwards and Shelley Place, along with Elena Giannetti, Prime Productions staged its first production in the spring of 2017 with Little Wars by Stephen Carl McCasland at Mixed Blood Theater. The play featured 7 roles for female-identifying actors, including 5 over the age of 50. That was before the Stages of Minnesota's time, but my colleague, Jill Schaefer of Cherry and Spoon, saw it and wrote of Little Wars that it was well directed by the company's co-founder, Shelley Place. There's never a dull moment as the conversation shifts and turns among the 7 women, each of whom is a complex and fully formed character. This may be a historical play, but its themes are eerily relevant. She urged her readers to go support the work of female artists in their prime, telling a story of historical female artists in their prime, in what is also an engaging and entertaining evening of theater. In the 7 years since that first production, there have been 5 more produced. Prime Productions has staged plays at Mixed Blood, Park Square, as well as the Guthrie, with plays that feature complex characters exploring important themes: the Holocaust, Little Wars; climate change, 2 Degrees; AI and dementia, Marjorie Prime; loneliness and connection, The Roommate; heroic women of the French Revolution, The Revolutionists; and celebrating the kick-ass late governor of Texas, Ann Richards, in the one-woman show Anne by Holland Taylor, which starred local legend Angela Timberman. In addition to full productions, they have also produced 4 seasons of Prime Voices, a staged reading series. During COVID, Prime created a YouTube series, Prime Voices, the interview series, featuring an international group of mature, diverse women who had overcome adversity and discrimination. Most recently, they created Prime Voices, the playwright series, commissioning 2 mature female playwrights to create full-length plays for 2 or more women over 50 with a female point of view. For their 8th season, Prime Productions will be producing 2 plays. First, after a successful staged reading in 2024, they will mount a full production and Twin Cities premiere of For Peter Pan on Her 70th Birthday by 2-time Pulitzer Prize finalist and Tony Award-nominated playwright Sarah Ruhl. This fantastical dramedy follows 5 adult siblings navigating the loss of their father, their childhood memories, and their evolving sense of self as they age. With wit, warmth, and a touch of theatrical magic, the play asks what it truly means to grow up, and whether we ever really do. The cast includes co-founder and co-artistic director Allison Edwards, as well as Elizabeth Desotelli. And, in a reflection of Prime's commitment to stories that resonate deeply and universally for the first time in years, the cast contains men. 4, to be exact: Bob Malos, Kurt Schultz, Terry Lynn Carlson, and Eric Steen. As Allison Edwards noted, after so many women-centered productions, we were ready to bring some men back to the stage. For Peter Pan on Her 70th Birthday opens October 9th and runs through October 26th at Mixed Blood Theater in Minneapolis. I cannot make it to opening weekend, so we'll have a review by guest blogger Jill Schaefer of Cherry and Spoon after opening weekend. Prime's second production of the 2025-26 theater season is the world premiere of Abuelita, a heartfelt and magical new play by Playwright Center core member Nathan Youngerberg. Set in Spanish Harlem, Abuelita follows Davia, a spirited Midwestern grandmother, as she brings her mixed-race grandson to New York City in search of connection, culture, and healing. What begins as a family trip quickly transforms into a journey of self-discovery for both grandmother and grandson. As they're embraced by a vibrant community, 3 wise and warm Latina women over 50, a sharp-tongued young girl, and a charismatic gay man who helps Davia rediscover her joy, power, and sexuality through dance. Originally discovered in an online reading during the pandemic and developed through a workshop at the Playwright Center, this production is the result of years of artistic commitment and support, including funding from the Minnesota State Arts Board. This premiere marks a major milestone for Prime, technically, emotionally, and artistically. As co-founder Allison Edwards puts it, we're a small theater with big ideas, and this season we're acting on them. Abuelita is exactly the kind of bold, heartfelt story we were founded to tell. It will run from March 14th through the 29th at the Capri Theater in Minneapolis. Here at the Stages of Minnesota, we support and champion all theaters. But one of our primary goals since the beginning has been to put theaters and productions in front of you that you might not have heard of. Like Prime Productions, we also try and promote the use of theater to tell the stories that weren't being told in the American stage throughout most of the 20th century. The works that let us hear from the voices that were too often sidelined or excluded altogether. Sponsors like Prime Productions help us to do that. Their support makes it possible for us to continue to produce this show and provide another way to boost the signal of the theater community. You, faithful viewer, can help as well by supporting the theater companies that sponsor us. The best way you can do that is to purchase tickets to their shows and then share with your friends and family what you thought of them. If you enjoyed the show, encourage others to see it as well. If you cannot make it to the show this fall, but love what you learned about Prime Productions on this episode and want to support their mission, you can donate to the company. Theaters are facing unprecedented funding cuts right now, and any company that promotes inclusion is in the crosshairs, which means if your theater isn't solely producing plays that focus on orange-skinned straight men, you'll need the support of audiences to survive. We'll link to Prime Productions in the show notes so that you can purchase tickets to their shows and or donate directly to the theater to help them continue doing the important work they do. If you'd like to sponsor an episode of The Stages of Minnesota, email me at robdunkelberger@thestagesofmn.com. You don't have to be a theater company to sponsor a show, just a theater supporter. I'm not sure what a hardware store, realtor, or credit union sponsorship would look like, but we could definitely figure it out. Now, with a review of The Ruins, running through October 12th in the Guthrie Theater's Dowling Studio, is Cherry and Spoon herself, Jill Schaefer.
Hi, this is Jill from Cherry and Spoon. And I recently saw a brand new play at the Guthrie Theater, a play with music. It's called The Ruins. And I found it to be just exquisite. It was really everything I want theater to be. It was simple and profound. It was epic and it was intimate. It was funny. It was philosophical. It was musical and moving. It was just really checked all the boxes for me. And it was the first show that the Guthrie is doing in the 9th floor Dowling studio since the pandemic. So it's really exciting to see theater coming back into that space. And it's a space that's just perfect for this piece because it's a black box theater that for this show is set up in the round. And so the play was written by an actor, musician, playwright named George Aboud, and he was in the original cast of The Band's Visit on Broadway, which is a musical that was so special, and I really loved it, and actually kind of gives me the same feelings as this play does. So he wrote this play for himself and a friend of his, whose name is Sydney Shepherd. She's also a Broadway actor and a cellist, and she's in a band called Bandits on the Run. And the play takes place in an institution where people go to die, and they know exactly how many days they have left before they die. And so it's one long conversation between these two people, and it's sort of, how do you want to spend your final days? What do you want to think about, talk about? What music do you want to listen to? And so George plays a Middle Eastern stringed instrument called an oud, and then Sydney plays a cello. The characters are not named. And they sort of trade songs with each other. They trade poetry. They talk about all sorts of ideas. And it's just really beautiful and profound. It's about, I think, 100 minutes, no intermission, and it's just riveting. The piece was directed by a Tony-winning Broadway producer named Osh Ashraf, and it's beautifully directed and designed very simply with sort of cool colors, and the lighting is gorgeous, and it's just really exquisite all around. And it's a world premiere, and these are, Broadway caliber artists, and they're doing it right here at the Guthrie. And so we're really lucky to have it here before this play moves on to what I'm thinking will be a long life. So I would recommend that you don't miss The Ruins at the Guthrie Theater. I believe that's playing through October 12th.
whether it moves me to cheers or tears, puts me to sleep, or gets me up on my feet. These are my Minnesota Honest Reviews. Truthful, but not hurtful. Theater Pro Rata's new production, The Book of Will, by Lauren Gunderson, co-author of the Christmas at Pemberley trilogy, tells the true yet fictionalized story of Henry Condell and John Hemingway's, I'm gonna say go ahead and drink there, Shakespeare's colleagues who preserved his plays after his death. It begins in the Globe Tap House with Condell, Hemingway's, and actor Richard Burbage lamenting poor pirated productions of the plays performed by young actors who, in their opinion, don't measure up. When Burbage suddenly dies, Condell and Hemingway's realize many of Will's plays existed only in his memory. They resolve to try and gather the text from wherever they can and publish the complete works in what we now know as the First Folio. What follows is both funny and moving, exploring the power of story and the urgency of preservation. The cast is uniformly strong. Sean Dillon imbues Condell with the actor's own inherent decency, which shines through especially in his warm, humane friendship with Hemingway's. Andrew Troth provides the heart of the play, with a heart-wrenching and devastating turn as Hemingway's. There is a moment mid-play when Troth, always a solid member of any cast, stunned me with his emotionally raw and vulnerable performance. Among the supporting cast, Nissa Nordland and Carter Graham generate a brief but delightful spark of romance. Care Whitting, drink up, makes Ben Jonson both rival and friend, and Jeremy Motz rhymes with boats. Damn it! Jeremy Motz, dazzles with a burst of Shakespearean dialogue that electrifies the stage. Gunderson's script brims with Easter eggs for Shakespeare lovers, yet remains accessible to newcomers. It's striking how close we came to losing these plays, and yet how we seem unable as a species to learn from the past. Consider that 300 years later, 75% of all films made during the silent film era are lost. The production's visuals add depth, especially M.J. Leffler's ingenious set, made entirely from recycled and repurposed materials, including a towering feather once used in the Guthrie's Cyrano de Bergerac. Rubble and Ashes costumes enrich the period authenticity. The Book of Will is both a celebration of Shakespeare and a meditation on artistic legacy. Whether or not you're a Shakespeare devotee, it's a poignant reminder of why preservation matters. The play runs through October 11th at the Crane Theater in Minneapolis. The Book of Will is my Stages of Minnesota pick of the week.
Do I really have to go? Hard pressed to find a reason to brave the cold. So warm inside your cabin, give me just another moment. Wrapped inside the blanket of your body, the blanket of your body. Time to hit the open road. Loving arms await me, their domain knows me alone. Never a single question, 35 years full of holiday cheer, and still no invitation for my +1.
That will do it for this episode of The Stages of Minnesota. I want to thank Prime Productions again for sponsoring this episode. Remember, For Peter Pan on her 70th birthday opens October 9th at Mixed Blood Theater in Minneapolis. We'll link to Prime Productions as well as Theater Pro Rata and the Guthrie Theater in the show notes. Don't forget to help Jill celebrate the 15th anniversary of Cherry and Spoon by donating $15,000 to $150,000 to your favorite theater. We'll link to Cherry and Spoon so you can register your donation and be entered into the drawing for free tickets to Theater La Ti Da or the Guthrie Theater. We'll also link to Erica's blog, Lettered in Theater, so you can read all of her reviews. If you have comments, questions, suggestions of topics you'd like to see covered, email me at robdunkelberger@thestagesofmn.com. You can also join the Stages of Minnesota +1 Club by emailing me your name and cell number for the chance to see an upcoming show with me as my +1. For those of you not playing the drinking game and thus hopefully still conscious, if you see me at a show or anywhere else, don't be shy, say hi. Let's get a picture and put you on the Stages of Minnesota. Remember, you can read my full reviews on my blog at www.thestagesofmn.com. Thanks as always to Ryan Lee for the generous use of his music. Every note of music used on the Stages of Minnesota comes from his albums, which you can find at ryanlee.bandcamp.com. Whether you're watching the YouTube edition or listening to the podcast version, you're my best friend. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word. The Stages of Minnesota is like a fine wine. You can gulp it, but it's better if you sip and savor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and review the show. Until next week, as Carol Jackson slurred as I mispronounced my own name, go see a show. Go see a show. Go see a show. Go see a show.
'Cause it's all over but the shouting. Every soul needs light. But mine's been wasting away in the afternoon shade, out of sight. And I am not the pure and perfect one, but my branches are still bent toward the sun.